Well, tensions between Australia and China deepen as Australia moves to appeal China's decision to impose 80% tariffs on barley producers. And of course, the battle of border restrictions plagues state leaders. Joining me now for more insight is Sky News host and News Corp columnist Peta Credlin. Peter, thanks for joining us tonight. Let's kick off with China. We'll get to borders in a second. Look, they've really tightened the screws. This was an announcement today that barley producers expect will cost them about $500 million. We're also seeing now Agriculture Minister David Littleproud talk about exploring other options such as India and of course Indonesia. What are your thoughts?
Well, look, I grew up in the wheat belt in Victoria. It doesn't have the size of barley crop that WA does, let's say, but the context that I've got there, and I spoke to Jane Marwick on Friday, followed up again today. I've got a lot of material coming into me from barley growers themselves. Very disappointed with China's reaction. Pretty resilient, and I haven't found one yet that doesn't back Scott Morrison on pushing China to be a part of a Fair Income inquiry. Now, it's a shame that our farmers are collateral damage in here, and let's hope we can sort out something sooner rather than later. But, you know, it just goes to show the idea that this wasn't retaliatory, this and other claims made by the ambassador, well, that's all been shown to be a farce. They are clearly targeting Australia for demanding an inquiry. That tells you how hard China, the new China in particular, under Xi Jinping is playing it. But also it says to every other industry, if you have all your eggs in the China basket, you have got to reshape how you run your business.
And let's talk about that, Peter, because that's been a big narrative. If you read The Australian and you read the Financial Review, you can clearly see that there is a very strong push in this country to wean ourselves away from being tied to certain countries. And certainly I think now is a great opportunity to hit that reset button. Of course there'll be pain. There'll always be pain when you go down this particular path. But, you know, to have billionaire steel producers sort of, you know, kowtowing to China, I don't think resonates particularly well with the Australian population.
I mean, if you just shift your gaze on the map a little bit across, you can see obviously India is a massive market, over 1 billion people, hungry for Australian goods, rule of law, democracy, a lot of the same underpinnings constitutionally as we did because of the British influence. So I don't understand why more businesses aren't targeting India. I know it's a difficult place to do business, it's bureaucracy on steroids, but I think if we really have a push into India, and there was, at least under my former boss, you know, a move on a free trade agreement. But certainly you've got Barry O'Farrell there now as the High Commissioner. I think there's huge opportunity with India. We certainly moved that way a little bit with the student market, Malaysia, Indonesia. Indonesia's completely uncooked. As you know, Gleeso, it's so close to Queensland. The north of Australia has got some good links with Indonesia, but the rest of the country I don't think does enough with Indonesia. So I think we're going to be smart about this. I hope out of this virus we don't just back down. I hope that a whole lot of things change, including manufacturing in Australia and also where we source and send our exports.
Now, we saw today where China has actually backed this inquiry, which is sort of quite weird when you consider that they were so opposed to it for so long, and they're now, you know, using this retaliatory trade action against us. But I guess the devil will be in the detail, Peter, and you've been around long enough to know that for China to back this, maybe the terms of reference aren't quite as strong as what maybe Australia would have liked.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the World Health Organization is not ruled out in this motion, in this resolution that will soon be adopted. Now, Australia was saying a couple of weeks ago, the World Health Organization can't be a part of this inquiry. There are serious questions about how they conducted themselves for the first couple of months of the emergence of this virus. However, that doesn't look like it will be the case. China's not even mentioned in the inquiry. We're not talking about in the motion either that we're looking for the origin of this pandemic. That conveniently has been left out. China made some announcements today in terms of putting money into the inquiry. I think they understand that the world community, and there's 110 plus countries have signed up to it already, want there to be an inquiry. So rather than stand outside and get an inquiry that would be very uncomfortable for China, possibly find out too much, they've decided to get in there and reshape the terms of reference. And it's a political tactic. It clearly is working. It happens all the time at the United Nations. So I don't know what sort of honesty and transparency we'll get in the end, but it's better than not having an inquiry at all.